My name is Emma and today I am doing my bookshelf tour. This has been highly requested since I got another bookshelf, and so you know I had to do one. It has been a year since my last bookshelf tour. I have unhauled some books. I have obviously gotten new books which make up this wonderful book collection that I am very proud to have right here. As always, it's not complete. I have so many more books to buy though. After this, I don't know where I will put them. Without further ado, here is my bookshelf tour. Alrighty, this is the best I can really do with the size of my tripod. So for the top shelves, this is the angle it's gonna have to be. This first shelf is my first Harry Potter shelf. It has all of the original Harry Potter books on it and a few trinkets. So like most of my bookshelf tours, I like to take all of the other stuff that I have on my shelves off first so they don't get in the way of the books, so that's what we're going to be doing. The first item I have here is my time turner. I got this at the New York Harry Potter exhibition. Essentially a couple of years, part of the Warner Brothers tour in London came to New York for a few weeks and they had sets and props and costumes, and of course I had to splurge on the gift shop, so one of the first things I bought was this time turner. I also bought this at the gift shop of that exhibition. It is Luna Lovegood's jewelry set. So firstly you have the cork necklace, you have the radish earrings, as well as a beetle ring. These are my chocolate frog cards. I have Salazar Slytherin and Albus Dumbledore. I actually got these when I bought chocolate frogs at the Warner Brothers tour that was actually in London. Of course, I have kept the cards until now. I really don't want to take this down because I finally figured out a way to have it set up and displayed perfectly, but this is a little portrait of Hermione, Harry, and Ron in class. I got it from one of the Owl Crate boxes. For the life of me, I cannot remember the artist, but I think it's so beautiful. I have a ton of Harry Potter friends, but this is by far my favorite. And when I had this big white space in here, I knew I wanted to fill it with the print, and so I have it taped up there and it's all nice, and I just don't want to take it down. Now we're gonna move on to the books. Obviously this is the entire Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling in its original US hardbacks. The Philosopher's Stone, The Chamber of Secrets, The Prisoner of Azkaban, The Goblet of Fire, The Order of the Phoenix, The Half-Blood Prince. I obviously have 2 copies of the Deathly Hallows. I've stated many times on my channel, I went to the midnight release and got one, and then the next day I worked Harry Potter Day at my local library, and I ended up winning the raffle for a second copy, which worked out really well when my mom, myself, as well as my dad all wanted to read it at the same time, but I like to have both of them. And then again, I have 2 copies of the script for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, parts 1 and 2. I again also went to the midnight release of the Cursed Child and got a copy, and then the next day in the mail I got a copy sent by Scholastic, which I'm really grateful for. So I'm just like continuing on this tradition of getting 2 copies of Harry Potter every new release. So that is my first Harry Potter shelf. Okay, so this is my second Harry Potter shelf. I knew as soon as I was getting a new bookshelf that I wanted to expand my Harry Potter shelf because I have so many different collections that I am starting to collect. It's really hard for me to put things in the front because of the size of the illustrated editions, but obviously I have the Harry Potter Quidditch Funko as well as the Draco Malfoy Funko. This one came in an Owl Crate box, and this one my boyfriend bought for me because they sometimes sell Funko Pops at his store. Never really thought I would like Funko Pops, but then I got these 2 and I'm like, wow, I need the rest of the Harry Potter ones. In the middle, I obviously have the Harry Potter Complete 8 film collection. I actually got this for like $25 on Prime Day. I had to splurge and get the DVDs. I know DVD sets are like non-existent nowadays, but I have them as a keepsake at least. Then I have these Harry Potter glasses. These are actually hippie glasses that I bought at Party City, but I popped the lenses out when I needed to film a Harry Potter video once, and they've come in handy since then. I do want to invest in actual better ones that are bigger and fit Harry's frames better, but they work for now and I like having them on my shelf. I actually do need to hold this one because it has chocolate in it still, but this is obviously a chocolate frog. I love the casing on it, so I had to keep it on my shelf, but because of the chocolate, it like falls over. But I love displaying it on my shelf. I don't think I'll ever actually eat the chocolate now because this is from like 3 years ago, but it's a nice addition to the shelf. Now this thing is actually from an event I went to for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. There was a Muggle Mob, but the people participating had these little paddles with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child cover on it, and so I cut off the bottom and I wanted to display it on my shelf, so I like keeping it on here. The first book I have on here is The Tales of Beedle the Bard by J.K. Rowling, which is a few of the children's stories from the Wizarding World. Again, I have to hold this one because it does not fit in the shelf. There's no way for me to ever display this beauty, but this is the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I also have the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Then I have the 10th anniversary edition of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which I didn't even know existed until I bought it like a few months ago. But the thing I love most about it is that this is the naked cover, so it's like totally worth it and totally gorgeous, and I love it so much. This bookshelf tour is going to be so long as it is, so I don't feel like going through and showing you all of the different covers of these books, especially because I already showed you the US hardbacks, but this is the US paperback edition of the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. I love, love, love this so much just because that illustration of Hogwarts on all of the spines put together is so beautiful, and I'm so happy I finally have it. And so that is my second Harry Potter shelf. So this shelf is kind of like my I don't know where to put you shelf. It's all the way up top, so it's not seen in my videos, but it's just a bunch of books that don't really fit into any of my other shelves, so I put them all together. I'm gonna be starting on this side just because I want to get those out of the way. Firstly, there are some comics that I own. This is Sex Criminals, the 3rd volume by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. Then I also have Paper Girls, volume 6. I have a couple chapter samplers. This one is Tales of the Peculiar by Ransom Riggs. The chapter sampler for The Glittering Court by Rochelle Mead. A very tiny sampler of An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. And then I also have the sampler of the Star Wars series that came out last year, written by Alexandra Bracken, Adam Gidwitz, and Tom Engelberger. So most of the shelf is adult books, memoirs, just things that really don't fit anywhere else. The Muse by Jessie Burton. Then I have the 50 Shades of Grey series by E.L. James, including her newest book, Grey. The reason I have 2 copies of 50 Shades is because the first one is my mom and sister's copy when they read it when it first came out, and then I decided that I wanted to have all of the books together. Bared to You by Sylvia Day. The Circle by Dave Eggers. The Signature of All Things by Elizabeth Gilbert. Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. Nobody Has to Know by Frank Nappy. Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. Book At Us Now by The Midnight Beast, aka Drew Wigley, Stephen Abingdon, and Ashley Horn. My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Binge by Tyler Oakley. Everything I Learned About Life I Learned in Dance Class by Abby Lee Miller. I Hate My Selfie by Shane Dawson. A Work in Progress by Connor Franta. The first 3 volumes of Death Note in the Black Edition. The Book of Speculation by Erica Swiler. Room by Emma Donahue. The Official Quotable Doctor Who Wise Words from Across Space and Time by Caravan Scott and Mark Wright. Charles H.R.H.'s Guide to Great Britishness. The Fangirl's Guide to the Galaxy, a Handbook for Geek Girls by Sam Maggs. The Bad Beginning by Lemony Snicket. And The Billionaire Bachelor by Jessica Lemon. As you can see, there's truly no rhyme or reason to how I organize this. I don't know where else to put them, so they go here. Alrighty, so we get to my first Shadowhunters shelf, which I know a lot of you are excited for, but I'm going to go through these very, very quickly because I do already have a full Shadowhunter shelves tour where I tell you about everything, where I got everything. There's links in the description of that video to where you can find everything. So if you are interested in learning more about my Shadowhunter shelves, you can just watch that tour that's linked in the description of this video. Firstly, let's get on with the trinkets. Firstly, I have the Shadowhunters tarot cards that were designed by Cassandra Jean. I'm not opening them because they're a pain to get back in, but they are so beautiful. They have such gorgeous coloring and detail on them. I love them. Next, I have Isabel's whip bracelet. I was originally going to buy the one from Hot Topic when the movie came out because for whatever reason, there's currently not any Shadowhunters merch, but I like this one because it wraps around my wrist more. Then I have Jace's Steel, which I did get at Hot Topic when they were having the City of Bones movie merch, and I don't think the light on it works anymore, but I still love having it on my shelf because what is a Shadowhunter shelf without a steel? So then I have Isabel's ruby necklace, so I have all of her accessories anytime I need to dress up as her, but I love displaying it like right smack in the middle of my bookshelf, so when you look at it, that's one of the first things you see. Then I have this Shadowhunters rune candle that I obviously don't use. I just like to display it on my shelf. This shriveled mess is actually my wristband from BookCon 2016 when I met Cassandra Clare. See on the back, it says her name, and I'm sentimental AF, so I needed to keep it. This is the piece of paper I had Cassie sign a couple of years ago when I wanted to get it tattooed, so it says words have the power to change us, and it's in her handwriting, so now I have it tattooed on my shoulder, but I wanted to keep the paper, again, for sentimental value. Then I have these gold Shadowhunter rune tattoos that are really, really gorgeous. I haven't used them yet because I'm afraid of messing them up, but I got them at YALLFest last year. Then of course I have the City of Bones movie DVD. So these are the UK paperback editions of the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. I just loved the coloring on it, and there's so much detail in those symbols on the front that I had to have them. Then I have the movie tie-in version of City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Here I have a history of notable Shadowhunters and denizens of Downworld told in the language of flowers Powers by Cassandra Clare and illustrated by Cassandra Jean, who created the tarot cards. Just this really gorgeous book having all these detailed pictures of all of the characters from every Shadowhunters book and the ones to come, as well as a little bit of bio and special information about each character. Then of course I have the entire Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare in the US hardbacks, which are obviously my favorite edition. Then I have the Barnes & Noble exclusive collector's edition of City of Bones with the new covers, and I had to buy this one not just because it's another cover of the Mortal Instruments, but because it actually has the first chapter where Jace and Clary meet, told from Jace's perspective, and it was perfect and I loved it, and so now I have it. Then of course I have the TV tie-in edition of City of Bones for Shadowhunters, and then finally I have the new US paperback editions of the entire Mortal Instruments series. These are obviously the ones that have the very pretty spines that go together, but you've been seeing those for this whole tour of this shelf, so I thought I would give them a little bit of credit for their beautiful covers. Alrighty, so that's my first Shadowhunter shelf that's focused solely on the Mortal Instruments. Then we have my second Shadowhunter shelf, which is focused on the Infernal Devices, the Dark Artifices, as well as extra books from Cassandra Clare. Firstly, I have another rune candle that I got from Fairy Loot. Then I have another rune necklace that was gifted to me for my birthday by Sierra from Sierra Reads, and it's this beautiful little angelic rune necklace that has wings and this diamond in the front. Then we have my Mortal Cup, which I made out of clay, and I'm very, very proud of because I never made anything out of clay before this, but it took a very long time. It's very detailed. It's also not perfect, of course, but I love it so much. I also make use out of the cup because I keep a few things in here, like I have a couple of temporary rune tattoos if I ever need them for videos. Then I have the Manoir editions of The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. I have the US hardback editions of the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare, Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, as well as Clockwork Princess. I forgot one little trinket, obviously, but this is Jace's steel from Hot Topic in the keychain form. I lost the part that actually attaches to my key, so I was like, why not put it on my bookshelf? Of the Infernal Devices series that match the editions of the Mortal Instruments series. Because these ones actually fit in their box, unlike the Mortal Instruments one, I don't really feel like taking them out, so just admire the beauty of the spines. And if you want to see more what they actually look like, you can check out the Shadowhunter shelf tour. This is a chapter sampler for Lady Midnight that I got at BookCon 2015. I have my arc of Lady Midnight that was kindly sent to me by Simon & Schuster. I have my final copy of Lady Midnight. Then to finish off all of my Dark Artifices books, this is the UK Waterstones limited edition of Lady Midnight that has this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous cover, which is canvas, and it has these gold runes painted on them, and it's actually signed by Cassie inside, and it's like one of my favorite books that I own. Then I have the Bane Chronicles by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Rez Brennan, and Maureen Johnson. I have my arc of the bind-up of Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Rez Brennan, Maureen Johnson, and Robin Wasserman. Then I have this book called Shadowhunters and Myths, Discovering the Legends Behind the Mortal Instruments by Valerie Estelle Frankel, with more double copies of my favorite books. This is the Shadowhunters Codex by Cassandra Clare and Joshua Lewis. I have two copies because I originally had my own copy. The first time I met Cassandra Clare, she just kind of gave me a signed one, which was really, really cool, and so I obviously kept both. So that is a quick rundown of my second Shadowhunter shelf. So as you can tell by 4 of the last 5 shelves I just showed you being fantasy, I have a lot of fantasy books. So I've tried to group them by different types of fantasy or fantasy favorites and whatnot. So these are really my high fantasy favorites. So this is the current Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, The Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, and Empire of Storms, all in the US hardbacks. Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. Then here I have 4 of the UK paperback editions of the Throne of Glass series. I know I'm missing Empire of Storms and the Assassin's Blade, but I'll get them one day. I just really, really love these white, gorgeous covers. A Darker Shade of Magic and A Gathering of Shadows, both by V.E. Schwab. The Grisha Trilogy by Lee Bardugo, Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, Ruin and Rising. And yes, Siege and Storm was just upside down before, which happens a lot to me, but I've now fixed it. And to finish off my Lee Bardugo books, I have 6 of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. Of course, more Sarah J. Maas. This is the ACOTAR series, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and A Court of Mist and Fury, and yes, my mother is currently reading it. Then I have Daughter of Smoke and Bone, Dreams of Gods and Monsters, and Days of Blood and Starlight, all by Laini Taylor. Then Red Queen and Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. And then finally, An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. And so that's currently some of my favorite high fantasies, some high fantasies that I've read or ones that I'm going to read and that I know I'm going to love. This is like the High Fantasy Faves shelf. So again, we have another fantasy shelf. This is more urban fantasy, and these are, again, some of my faves or ones that I know I'm going to like. So because this Greek gods book is so dang big, I don't really have space to put up books, so I'm probably just gonna point for the shelf because it really is so stuffed. First is the Iron Trial by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. Then I have a couple Rick Riordan books. The first is The Hidden Oracle. Then I have the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan, The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, The Mark of Athena, The House of Hades, The Blood of Olympus. Then I have Percy Jackson's Greek Gods, also by Rick Riordan, which is just like a informational illustrated book about the gods of the Percy Jackson series, which is actually next. So then I have the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, The Lightning Thief, The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian, all by Rick Riordan. Then I have another Rick Riordan book, which is The Hammer of Thor. Unfortunately, I don't have the first Magnus Chase book. I only have the second, but I will get around to reading it eventually and picking up the first one. Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Furthermore by Tahara Mafi. Then I have the first 3 books in the Raven Cycle series, The Raven Boys, The Dream Thieves, and Blue Lily, Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater. On the bottom here is Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendare Blake. Then I have the first 2 books of the Archive series by Victoria Schwab. The Unbound is behind the Archived because I really, really love the cover of the Archived, but I don't want to like make everything fall by going through it now. Then I have Ivory and Bone by Judy Eschbaum, The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black, Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. So those are really all of the books on the first urban fantasy shelf. Again, there's not really a way for me to organize it. It's just kind of all the books are on there where they fit, and that's kind of how I go about organizing them. So this is my last fantasy shelf. This is mostly urban fantasy with a few high fantasy thrown in, and again, these are books that I either love or that I know I'm going to love. First, I have The Wrath and the Dawn and The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Ahdieh. Then I have the Winter's Trilogy, The Winter's Curse, The Winter's Crime, and The Winter's Kiss, all by Marie Rutkowski. Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. 3 Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake. The Star-Touched Queen by Roshni Chosky. Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. Then I have the first 2 books in the Bloodline series by Rochelle Mead because I'm too lazy to go by the last 4. Then I have the full Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead, including the first book in the movie tie-in edition. Then I have the entire Chronicles of Vladimir Todd series by Zach Brewer. And then finally, I have the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer, Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn, and Life and Death combined with the 10th anniversary edition of Twilight. So that is my other fantasy shelf. So now we're shifting focus a little bit, taking a break from fantasy, and we have my favorite contemporary shelf. I have not read all of the books on here, but these are mostly pretty contemporaries, contemporary characters that I like, etc, etc. This pile over here is my favorite because these are what I consider to be the prettiest books, and I used to keep them individually, but now they're with the rest of my contemporaries, so we're gonna start there. This is the More Happy Than Not paperback edition by Adam Silvera, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, Extraordinary Means by Robin Schneider, All the Right Places by Jennifer Niven, This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales, the hardback edition of More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera, Girl Online by Zoe Sugg, Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon, Something in Between by Melissa De La Cruz, Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson, The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson, Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone, The Anna and the French Kiss series by Stephanie Perkins, Anna and the French Kiss, Lola and the Boy Next Door, and Isla and the Happily Ever After, The Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, The Naturals, Killer Instinct, and All In, The Silence of Six by E.C. Myers, 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher, Paper Towns by John Green, Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan, An Abundance of Catherines by John Green, Looking for Alaska by John Green, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, the movie tie-in edition, Attachments by Rainbow Rowell, the exclusive collector's edition of Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell, The Merciless by Danielle Vega, Tiny Pretty Things by Sonia Charaportra and Danielle Clayton, P.S. I Like You by Casey West, and To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. So that is my pretty contemporary shelf, which is why it's the one that you can see in my videos, but I really like the way it's set up because I just think it's so pretty. So this is what I kind of call the fantasy reject shelf, not because I don't like the books on here, because some of these books are my absolute favorites, but because they just didn't fit on any of the other non-TMI, TID, and Harry Potter shelves, so they're just kind of rejected to the bottom, unfortunately, but they still deserve to be seen, so I'm going to show them to you guys. The first 3 books I have are The Hobbit, The Return of the King, and The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. I know I'm missing the Fellowship of the Ring, which is the first in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I lent it to my sister's boyfriend like a year and a half ago and I still haven't gotten it back, so I'm just kind of chilling without it for the moment. Then I have the first 3 books in the Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin, A Game of Thrones, A Clash of Kings, and A Storm of Swords. I know some of these are super damaged. I'm just letting you know they're not from me. I have not read Game of Thrones yet. This is all my sister. And these little rips are because my rabbit that I used to have ate the books, which is a common theme in a lot of these older copies. Then I have the 75th anniversary edition of The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes, The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black, the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson, The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages, Winterspell by Claire Legrand, The Finisher by David Baldacci, The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson, The Reader by Tracy Chee, The Dark Days Club by Allison Goodman, the Hex Hall series by Rachel Hawkins, Hex Hall, Demon Glass, and Spellbound, Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton, Soundless by Rochelle Mead, Seraphina and the Black Cloak and Seraphina and the Twisted Staff, both by Robert Beatty, Everland by Wendy Spinelli, My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows, The Graceling by Kristen Kishore, and then the Ruby Red series by Kirsten Gear, Ruby Red, Sapphire Blue, and Emerald Green. So that is my final fantasy shelf. We're over all the fantasy, guys, I promise. So then we have my dystopian favorite shelf. Now, if you've seen my other 2 bookshelf tours, you notice that this hasn't really changed that much. I kind of keep everything for this specific shelf, for whatever reason, in the same order, but the Divergent series by Veronica Roth, Divergent, Insurgent, Allegiant, and 4, the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Young, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay, the Glittering Court by Rochelle Mead. Then I have the Shatter Me series by Tara Mafi, Shatter Me, Unravel Me, Ignite Me, and Unite Me, the 2 novellas Destroy Me and Fracture Me, the Ugly series, Uglies, Pretties, and Specials by Scott Westerfeld. Then we have the Selection series by Kiera Cass, the Selection, the Elite, the One, the Heir, the Crown, and the bind-up of novellas Happily Ever After. Then I have Shay's Story, the graphic novel from the Ugly series by Scott Westerfeld. Then I have the Darkest Minds series by Alexandra Bracken, the Darkest Minds, Never Fade, In the Afterlight, and the bind-up of novellas Through the Dark. And then finally we have the Testing trilogy by Joelle Charbonneau, the Testing, Independent Study, and Graduation Day. And so that's my main dystopian shelf. Like I said, stuff hasn't really changed in the past 3 years. Then we have this sort of combination shelf, which has a couple of contemporaries left over that didn't fit on the first shelf, and a couple of dystopians that didn't fit on that dystopian shelf. If I Stay and Where She Went by Gail Forman, Just One Day, also by Gail Forman, Hotel Ruby by Suzanne Young, Vengeance Road by Erin Bauman, Survive the Night by Danielle Vega, My True Love Gave to Me 12 Holiday Stories edited by Stephanie Perkins by a bunch of different YA authors I'm way too lazy to name, This Is Where It Ends by a Dutch author whose last name I do not want to butcher, Every Day by David Levithan, After Party by Anne Resditch Stampler, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, Never Always Sometimes by Adi Ali Said, 100 Hours of Night by Anna Woltz, If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo, American Girls by Allison Eminger, Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, The Masked Truth by Kelly Armstrong, The Duff by Cody Keplinger, Nerve by Jeannie Ryan, Skinny by Ivy Kaslik, The Program, The Treatment, and The Remedy by Suzanne Young, Reboot and Rebel by Amy Tintera, The Murder Complex by Lindsay Cummings, The Maze Runner series by James Dashner, The Maze Runner, The Death Cure, and The Scorched Trials, Taken and Frozen by Erin Bauman, and the Legend series by Marie Lu, Legend, Prodigy, and Champion. So that's a whole mishmashy shelf of things that don't really fit together. So this is another shelf that's just a mix of different genres that didn't fit anywhere else. Clearly, as I get lower and lower down my bookshelf, I don't really care how the organization works. This shelf is definitely under construction. There are ones that I want to move to like my main sci-fi shelf or that I want to put with my other dystopians, but this is just kind of a holding cell for all the books that don't really fit anywhere. Endgame the Calling by James Frey. This book actually isn't called Ship of Theseus. It's called S, but I don't remember the author's name. Armada by Ernest Cline. Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. The Taking and the Replaced by Kimberly Durding. Elusive and Deceptive by Emily Lloyd Jones. Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Strangelets by Michelle Gagnon. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Then I have the first 2 books in the Young Elite series by Marie Lu, The Young Elites and the Rose Society Society. The reason I have 2 copies of the Young Elites is I have the first copy that I bought myself, and Penguin actually sent me the full Young Elite series in the paperbacks. More Than This by Patrick Ness, Unwind by Neil Shusterman, Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, Starflight by Melissa Landers, the Dorothy Must Die series by Danielle Page, Dorothy Must Die, The Wicked Will Rise, and Yellow Brick War, The Fifth Wave and the Infinite Sea by Rick Yancey, a Doctor Who graphic novel, The Only Good Dalek by Justin Richards and Mike Collins, which would actually be on the load of crap shelf up top because it doesn't really fit here, so I'll change that after this. And finally, The Host by Stephanie Meyer. So yeah, this is 100% a shelf that I'm aiming to change later on. I just can't really put them anywhere else at the moment. Then we have some much nicer organized sci-fi books. These are ones that I love, that I know I'm going to love, kind of the same deal as the rest of the fantasy ones, but these are some faves. Replica by Lauren Oliver, Alienated and Invaded by Melissa Landers, Beginnings and Consequences from the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Then I have these older covers of the Lux series, Obsidian, Onyx, Opal, and Origin. For whatever reason, in these covers as well as the bind-ups, I'm missing Opposition in both of them, but I'll definitely get that one day. The new paperback edition of The Diviners by Libba Bray. The most beautiful cover in all existence, The Diviners by Libba Bray. Guys, just look at that naked cover. The Clockwork Scarab by Colleen Gleason. Grasshopper Jungle by Andrew Smith. 3 out of 4 of the Miss Peregrine series by Ransom Riggs, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, Hollow City, and Tales of the Peculiar. I have yet to get Library of Souls, but I will be getting it soon. Then I have the Mara Dyer series by Michelle Hodkin, The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, The Evolution of Mara Dyer, and The Retribution of Mara Dyer. Then we have the Lunar Chronicles series by Marissa Meyer, Cinder, Scarlet, Cress, Winter, Stars Above, the novella bind-up, and Fairest, the prequel. And that is the sci-fi shelf. Now we have another shelf that's kind of a work in progress. So essentially, when I got my new bookshelf, I was intending on keeping 2 shelves totally blank so that I could fill them up, but I decided that I really wanted to create an adult's favorite shelf, so before they were all in with that WTF shelf. So now this is just kind of a shelf of adult books that I like, adult authors that I like, or adult books that I want to read. The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling, Landline by Rainbow Rowell, Night Film by Marisha Pessel, The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, Ignite by Lily Paradise, Volition by Lily Paradise, Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk, Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick, November 9 by Colleen Hoover, Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, and Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. As I'm getting more into adult books, this is definitely going to grow over time, but I feel like I have a nice starting point for a really lovely adult shelf. Okay, so my last 2 shelves are actually my ARC shelves. I knew as soon as I got a new bookshelf that I wanted to have all of my ARCs line the bottom shelf, and they're really just organized by publication date. So this is the first ARC shelf. 99 Days by Katie Cotugno, Made You Up by Francesca Zappia, Those Girls by Lauren Saft, Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone, Emmy and Oliver by Robin Benway, The Invasion of the Tierling by Erica Johansson, Paperweight by Meg Haston, What We Saw by Erin Hartzler, Dumplin by Julie Murphy, Nightfall by Jake Halpern and Peter Kujawinski, A Thousand Nights by E.K. Johnston, The White Rose by Amy Ewing, Ice Like Fire by Sarah Rash, Boost by D.A. Paul, DC Trip by Sarah Benincasa, Passenger by Alexandra Bracken, Salt to the Sea by Ruta Septis, The Glittering Court by Rochelle Mead, It Wasn't Always Like This by Joy Preble, Unforgivable by Amy Reed, The Fall of Butterflies by Andrea Portes, The Way Back to You by Michelle Andriani and Mindy Scott, The Blood Between Us by Zach Brewer, The Cresswell Plot by Eliza Wass, This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab, Signs of You by Emily France, Furthermore by Tahara Mafi, Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow, and The Call by Peter Ergillen, which refused to stand up on its own, so I had to hold it. Okay, so that's virtually it for my first ARC shelf. The oldest one on here is from April 2015, and the last one is from August 2016, so everything is still pretty recent, not really any rare ARCs are on here. Alright, and then we have this second ARC shelf. A Torch Against the Night by Saba Tahir, Labyrinth Lost by Zoraida Cordova, Frazzled by Bookie Vivat, Three Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake, Our Chemical Hearts by Crystal Sutherland, A Mortal Song by Megan Crew, The Forgetting by Sharon Cameron, Warp by Lev Grossman, Stealing Snow by Danielle Page, Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, Replica by Lauren Oliver, Spare and Found Parts by Sarah Maria Griffin, Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer Niven, The Midnight Star by Marie Lu, My Sister Rosa by by Justine Lara Bastier, Heartless by Marissa Meyer, The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid, The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, The Amateurs by Sarah Shepard, The Edge of Everything by Jeff Giles, History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera, The Free by Lauren McLaughlin, Caraval by Stephanie Garber, and then the final book was sitting on my bed because I'm currently reading it, which is Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. And then because I still have some space on here, I just put this adorable little double-decker bus that I got here from London that actually like runs. And so that completes my current ARC collection. And then this final shelf is pretty sad. It doesn't have much on it. I'm really leaving it blank for when I get more ARCs eventually because I want all 3 rows to be just ARCs. For now, I'm just keeping this box that I got at the Miss Peregrine's event that I went to. If you want to see the video for that, I'll leave it in the description of this video. But basically, they gifted us La Durée macarons, and they have this beautiful Miss Peregrine's box on it, like on each different side. There's so many different beautiful things on it, and it's a pretty box, and I just could not get rid of it. They also gave us this book, The Art of a Tim Burton Film, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, that just has all of this different artwork and photography and information about the Miss Peregrine's movie, but it doesn't fit on any of my shelves, so it just stays here for now. And then finally, this really, really overstuffed little pocket file folder is just full of my bookmarks, so I keep them organized. And that is the super anticlimactic end to my bookshelf tour. Alrighty, well, that was it for my newly updated bookshelf tour. Let me know what your favorite shelf was, or if you saw your favorite books on my shelf, or what books do I need to add to my collection, because you know there are many more out there. That is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new video. Bye!